Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Andy Miles. I'm the CEO of Think Marble. We're a cybersecurity company based in Hampshire. We cover the UK, and all our services are based out of the UK. So today we're going to be looking at cybersecurity and specifically what are the latest security threats to the legal sector. We work extensively within the law sector, helping firms recover from attacks, or more importantly, raise security levels to minimise the risk of those attacks happening in the first place. We're going to go in depth, looking at what does it mean to be cyber secure, leaving the tech out, but looking at the particularities of the law sector that make it right for target for cyber attackers. We'll then look at some of the research we did with regards to law firms in 2015 and how IT outsourcing has actually opened up firms to a greater risk of security attack. And finally, we will present the right way of doing cyber security in a law firm and the steps you need to take to protect your reputation. And then followed by that, we'll do some Q&A at the end. So if we look at where the threat vector is coming from, there are 5 key threats, stroke sources for this. Who are these threat actors? Firstly is organised crime. That's hackers or people that want to steal something from you to monetize it at a later date. Secondly, there's external government. We see quite a bit of this. This is nation states that are looking for confidential data of organisations, of individuals. And just to give an example of that at the moment, we've done some work for a firm somewhere in the UK who had Chinese spyware running on their servers. And it's been on there for about 18 months. And they're doing some quite sensitive work in the UK. So this is not stuff of Star Wars, it's real. Thirdly, we're seeing terrorist organisations. And fourth is hacktivists. Rather unfortunate to put these two in the same category because they arguably have opposite personalities, but really they have common goals to disrupting your activity in your firm and your clients. Fifth, which is sometimes overlooked, is potentially an internal source that's your classic disgruntled employee, if you will. Often we see that a law firm is the vehicle to getting to other people's data, i.e. the Panama Papers. And if you look at what Jonathan Davis, the Director General of MI5, said, that the perpetrator could just as easily attack the law firm as well as the organisation that it's actually trying to get information from to be able to get hold of that data. So how is this working? Well, these threat vectors, how does the risk translate into vulnerabilities? How can my organisation be attacked? Essentially, there are 2 main ways in which you become a victim of cyber breach. There's the internal source on the left-hand side of the screen and the external source. If we just start at the left-hand side here, classically, if you look down the list, you've got the BYOD. What that means is bring your own device. So that's bringing your iPhones and letting colleagues bring their own stuff to work. That is a ticking time bomb in 2016, and we've seen a lot of research in the global forums and the USA and from here that nobody really has corporate or small companies have antivirus or malware deployed on their devices. So these are ticking time bombs. These are a massive threat. And there's a lot of applications people use for social and home use that can have some pretty nasty code in there. It can compromise your organisation. We also see human error. So people doing the wrong things in-house, the wrong contract being sent to the wrong party. And if we move to the right-hand side of the screen, we can see social engineering. So that could be phishing. You may have heard of it from the Law Society, or the malware attacks. So, who was that person who sent the email to your finance partner asking for money to be moved? We've seen that quite a lot. Okay, so the cyber risk, what's the goal here? It was noted at the World Economic Forum that cybersecurity was identified in the top 5 risks actually facing the UK organisations. Last month, we've all seen that we've had the biggest ever recorded data leak as a result of a cyber attack at the Panama-based law firm. 2.6 terabytes of data. That's 11.5 million records, mainly email content, PDFs and text files are stolen. And what you note here is GCHQ refers to law firms as the soft underbelly of UK PLC, or political figures in this case. So for me, it's absolutely an issue facing the UK wide, but actually law firms particularly. And the main reason is they collate and hold a huge amount of incredible, important market-sensitive data. I'll just give you an example here for one of the clients we're working with. They're a law firm based in the UK, a number of sites, turnover is less than 20 million, about 200 colleagues. They asked us to do what is called a penetration test on the business. That's where we try and get a privileged access to information within their business. So under the Computer Misuse Act, we signed off to do that. It took us less than 3 minutes to get in through their guest Wi-Fi into their network and get privileged information. They were doing a £50 million piece of work for one of the top 5 banks in the UK, and that was a merger and acquisition work. And that was that easy to get in, and we weren't using any sophisticated tools. So it's a huge risk that we're seeing at the moment. So if we were to translate cyber risk, then it would be any risk of the following: financial loss, disruption or damage to the reputation of an organisation from some sort of failure of its information technology system. So my question to all the partners and managers of law practice attending this call today is, where is reputation on your priority risk? So what does it mean to be cyber secure? We've seen where the threat may be coming from. So what does it mean to be cyber secure? We've seen a lot of misconception about what people understand being secure is. We have to achieve 100% security. No, it's literally not possible. Hackers will always find a way in, and it's obviously not feasible. But don't get disheartened. The goal here is risk management, not risk elimination. And I always like to give examples like I gave earlier in the call. We as a cyber security company naturally attack the bad guys to come and have a go at us. And last November, our very own website, thinkmarble.co.uk, we had a persistent attack on our website. There's no client data there. They can't do any damage. It's just probably a bit of a game thing for these guys to try and take us out. Luckily, we had the alarms in place and the processes that went off that told us we were having a persistent attack on our website. It didn't go down, and we kept the services up. But it happens to anybody, but it's having the plans in place to deal with it. So if we invest in clever technology, are we safe? No, technology is at most a third of the solution or problem, depending on how you choose to look at it. Our weapons have to be better than those of the attacker? No, you need to figure out, 1, what are you trying to protect? Number 2, what are your goals, i.e. how much risk are you willing to take and plan against that? Number 3, cybersecurity compliance is all about monitoring. Yes, monitoring is critical because it gives you visibility to threats. However, the ability to learn is more important at times. Attackers tend to change their ways quite often to stay ahead of the curve. That is why you need a cybersecurity specialist, not just a box or a firewall sitting at the side of your network. Number 4, you need the best security team protecting your organisation? No, it should be part of your culture. It is much of an attitude as it is integrity is. So in summary, we've talked about cyber risk. Who is the attacker? How are they trying to break in? What is a cyber risk? And we've challenged some of the most common misconceptions. So just moving on now to the law sector and the cyber risk. So let's look at particularly in the law sector as a vertical market. PricewaterhouseCoopers reported that 45% of law firms were breached in 2014. This percentage increased to a staggering 62% last year, and the first quarter report that we've had from the government is slightly higher than that. And just whilst I'm talking about the government, the work we do under the Cyber Essentials scheme is we're licensed by GCHQ through a company called CESG, which is another government organisation, for the work we do. And we have access to some of the forums as well that gives us insight of what the attacks are going on in the UK environment, it gives us good insight. Sometimes we can't share that with you, but it lets us know why a network may be running slow. And for example, when the BBC was attacked and the university networks were running slow last year, we knew 3 to 4 days beforehand on the university networks what the problems were. We couldn't say anything to our customers, but we could reassure them that it wasn't a problem they were facing. So that comes back to having excellent monitoring and the right forums in place with the right partners. So why is it that law firms are at greater risk than the average organisation? There's 2 ways to answer that question. First, from the attacker's point of view, law firms are businesses, so they move money around, thus being a relevant target for hackers. Law firms are professional services organisations. They're known for their client base. These attract not just the hackers, but also the hacktivists. And a hacktivist, for those of you on the call, wonder what it is. It's a hacker, somebody who wants to get in, but somebody who's politically motivated as well. Law firms at the heart of the B2B and the B2C data supply chain, that's business to business and business to consumer supply chain. Hence, your data is likely to be more valuable. At this point, nation states become interested as well. Data is currently gold bars in the black market. So let's actually have a look now how much your data is valued for on the black web, the internet's black market. This is one of my favourite slides, actually. I quite like presenting this one when I'm doing this in a big audience. So you can go anywhere. This is from trendmicro.com. Have a look at their website. We also have access to the dark network. That's the Tor network, where we can see the real prices. This site here, they can quote you on how much certain data is going for. This is not science fiction. This is real, and it's dynamic, and it's traded faster than it is on the stock market. So in Russia at the moment, you can get a credit card for about £4. China, slightly more expensive, it's about $20. And Brazil is about $35. And it varies to country, and the criminals will even give you a service level agreement now with that credit card. So they'll give you a guaranteed credit card limit with it, with personal details as well if you want it. Okay, and what they do is they capture data from law firms and other industries to build up social accounts and health records, etc. So let's look at the law sector and the cyber risk in more detail. So if you look from within legal firms, the reasons for the attacks are, number one, data. Historically, law firms, you've had tons of incredibly confidential data due to the nature of the business. However, in the last few years, law firms have had to move most of this this data into digital format. Suddenly, personal and trade secrets are there to be stolen. Secondly, culture. Within law firms, integrity and reputation is a big part of the brand. So a big part of the culture is building trust. Trust among partners, trust among employees, trust given by your customers. However, trust and security don't go well together. If you've ever met a security specialist, you'll notice a slightly average level of paranoia amongst us, and that's for a reason. I'm not referring here to just malicious breaches, i.e. an angry employee taking your data, but even to a lack of awareness and care about the subject. And finally, information technology. IT is not, in the majority of cases, a strong discipline in the law firm. That automatically triggers a business decision to outsource non-core capability. Likewise, we also outsource our legal advice to external counsel. However, that means dependency. So when I normally present this slide, this is a point where I ask the audience, do you outsource your IT? From experience and research, the answer is normally yes, and then the raise of hands get greater as I go on through building this slide. So if we look at IT outsourcing, what do you outsource? What do these contracts include? Infrastructure, software, managed services. So the question for me, does the IT include security? 99% of our customers, and when we're talking to them as prospects, say yes. Excuse me. So does that include monthly and quarterly reporting of network traffic going in and out of your network? Are you being told if anyone has tried to steal data? That could be a solicitor who's resigned and tried to steal a database, or a spreadsheet, or just email it to their personal address, or plug a USB stick into their laptop to take that data. Does your IT provider run a 24/7/365 security operations center? Does your contract include a cyber attack response service? When we do a live event, this is where we start to see a few shaking heads, and I have a bit of a wry smile on my face. Did your IT provider give you forensic capabilities to find out why your accounts team received an email from the managing partner whilst the FD was away to transfer money over Easter? Does your provider regularly test your systems to stay in line with known vulnerabilities and trends? Does your IT provider advise on what processes and policies need to be in place to support the technology that is supposed to protect you? And just remember, technology is just about a third of the solution here. Does your IT provider give you training to raise the awareness of your support staff and partners alike? I think it'd probably be best to have a look at some of those outsourced IT contracts again. So, IT outsourcing and the cyber risk. I'm sorry it's a bit difficult to see this slide on the webinar, but we've looked back at the security reviews that we've carried out over the last 12 months. And this is a really interesting slide. As I said, I apologise about the visibility. As part of our engagement with law firms, we found it useful to take the organisation through the government's Cyber Essentials scheme, which is based on ample research concluding that 80% of cyber attacks are due to a basic measure of security, a failure of basic measure of security. So what did this research entail? We tested the basic levels of security first. We found that law firms tend to fail 40% of basic cybersecurity controls. Smaller firms, that's under 100 seats, are worse, they're around 50% failure on basic controls. Larger firms, that's those of you with over 100 seats, usually score around 30% failure rate. And then we tried to find out why it is that the basic security is not in place when most law firms outsource their IT. On average, out of the basic failed security controls, 55% can be attributed to a lack of managed IT service. That is why many of you were probably shaking your heads earlier. You're not getting security as part of your managed service. You thought you did, but you are not on the whole. It's all about risk management. If you at least get the basics right, you'll be protected against 80% of security vulnerabilities, and we think that it is a reasonable management plan to start with. Basic security controls are requirements as a part of SRA Chapter 7 to protect your customers' data. And I quote, and I'm not a lawyer, so please feel free to send me some amendments, but appropriate technical and organisational measures shall be taken against unauthorised or unlawful processing of personal data and against accidental loss or destruction of or damage to personal data. So, why shouldn't you just get a better IT managed service provider and call it a day? Well, no. Why? Why can't an IT provider take care of my security? Because they cannot mark their own homework. There is by definition a conflict of interest. One cannot be given both the responsibility of directing the movie and being the critic, or cooking the food on MasterChef and judging its quality. So, the solution is not to get rid of your IT provider. Okay, they do a great job. You need the paranoid security specialist being the peer review. That is the only way you can secure your business. So cyber security done right. So I kept saying that technology is a third of the solution for the cyber security. Sure, technology is very important, but overall it's just a tool. You need your people to play the game. You need to train your colleagues. You need to give those responsible the visibility, and that's absolutely key. You need your systems monitored. Last but definitely not least is governance. You need processes and policies in place to document how things should be done prior and after an event. Like I said, the game here is risk management. Things might still go wrong, so what do you do when that does happen? And I can tell you from experience, we work with a number of law firms, and we get a call saying, we've had a breach, we've had some malware, we've had a crypto locker, our servers, we can't access our data. And we are amazed about how many people just don't have the basic plans in place. Okay, and it's not that difficult to do. So let's look at the side benefits. Working with a cyber security specialist should give you these benefits as well. Security systems can give you reporting and control of your colleagues' online activity. Do they spend too much time on Facebook? We do see that with solicitors, by the way. I think we should maybe cut that down. Do they go to inappropriate websites? We see that as well. There's also branding opportunities. Initially I said a cyber attack can destroy your reputation. Well, cyber security can enhance that. And we've seen several law firms who are adopting that as thought leaders in the market and going down a route to get certified under the government scheme and working with us to put best practice in place. You can show your customers and prospects that you've taken best practice to protect their data. Trust us. Based on what's in the news, security is a major differentiator. You can also act as a thought leader in your industry and advise your peers, which is great PR. Some other benefits. You can save money on your insurance. We see this. Cyber insurance has become a big part of how insurers and brokers calculate the risk score of your business. Your premium would decrease by having the right controls in place, or it will reduce the additional premium that you'll pay for your cyber cover that a lot of you are looking to take up in the market at the moment. So I'll just repeat that. You can bring down some of your cover, but for when you get the extra cyber risk cover on, you're going to get that slightly reduced by having the right practices and processes in place by partnering with a security partner. Data protection helps for preparation for the upcoming GDPR. Lexel accreditation. Cyber Essentials, a security badge, helps with your Lexel accreditation. So, looking at our approach to securing law firms, this is what we found is the best recipe for bringing cybersecurity to law firms. We start by setting the baseline. We adopt the government's approach methodology because it's a good first step to get the basics right. This gives us a gap analysis. We then fix all of what is missing and give you the advice and the accreditations. And CyberSketch gives you all the side benefits. At this point, our customers change their attitudes and become quite excited about what we can do. So we move to the next step and raise the standards overall. This can be at IT level, physical, security, communications, wireless, and we then offer a monthly package to maintain and improve standards going forward. And we monitor your systems 24/7 by 365 to give you that live visibility. What we don't do is we don't actually look at your files of what's going on and what your people, the actual words of emails, etc. But we look at the in-depth analysis of what's embedded in that for risk. So what are the benefits of our methodology? Your benefits. Our method gives you the following. Enterprise level security minus the cost and complexity, offered at one monthly fee, and we take the care of the rest. I keep going on, but 24/7 by 365. We can look after you whether you're a one-man band up to 500 seats plus. And we're a security partner ready to intervene. We'll offer you periodic reporting, and we'll give you thought leadership to your equity partners, which enables them to have the tools to be able to invest smartly in your organizational security, and also coach you in how to use this intelligence to raise your profile in the market. And I go back to my point I said earlier. There's some law firms who are working with that now, and they're the ones who are going to take market advantage as we move forward in the future. So, the takeaway from this call: minimizing the risk of a cyber breach is vital to protecting and enhancing your reputation. Getting the basics right protects you against 80% of the threats. Develop a relationship with a security specialist. Be cyber secure is an attitude. It's not just another IT issue. So to finish this call, before we go to some Q&A, we've designed a service to help legal firms to take the first step towards protecting your firm and your reputation. And our very clever team have put this together, so hopefully it will work. So you can text to either of these numbers and you'll get a free mini audit. Or if you just want to get some more information and you're not ready for the next steps, just text Insight to the number on the screen. We'll also send you an email afterwards so you can text these numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to the moderators now, because I think there's some Q&A coming through. So, whilst the questions are coming through, as I said, my name's Andy Miles. We've got a formidable team in Think Marble. Virtually all of our team are ex-government or MOD or that sort of era. We've sold security to the Royal Household, and our website is just going to be rebranded at the moment. So we've got a question just coming through here. What's the most common type of breach in the law sector? I'm also wondering, if we did get a breach, what do we do as the first steps? Okay, that's a good question. So what's the most common type of breach in the law sector? Okay, so what we're seeing at the moment is we're seeing really the crypto locker is the big one for us at the moment, which is a malware. So that's a classic email coming through or a file attachment coming through, and that is locking their servers. So what tends to happen there is people come in on a Monday morning and they go and access the data, and a screen pops up and it says, you need to pay us X amount of Bitcoin, which is the currency that the criminals use, which is, say, 6 Bitcoin is about £2,000 to get your servers unlocked. Some law firms are paying this. And then what happens, that you can actually get a helpline in India which gives you some help to unlock it as part of the criminal service. And then what will generally happen is about 4 weeks later it will get increased. And we saw a firm recently held to ransom for £100,000. So that's what we're seeing is the most common one at the moment. The other weakness we have in them is vulnerability in their websites. So they've got client areas where people log in. Those are desperately insecure on the whole. And as I said, guest Wi-Fi networks are weak as well. So if you did get a breach, what do we do as first steps? First thing you need to do is we look at the golden hour, just like a car accident. So you must contact a specialist, disconnect those services from the internet as soon as you can, and then follow your incident policy and report it to the SRA if you think sensitive data has been lost. Otherwise, I think we all know there's fines on their way to you. Okay. Let me just have a look at the other questions here. Okay, there's some other questions. What are penetration tests? Penetration tests is an ethical hack of the business. So under the Computer Misuse Act, we have to sign off a piece of paperwork with you, and that allows us to try and get privileged access to information in your business. We either come through your website, we try and get in through the website, or we try and what we call tailgate, where that's people just walk through your office doors and say they're from BT. You'd be amazed how easy that's to do. We plug something into your network, into your computer room, and we're away. Or the other way we do it is we come from the inside and we try and get privileged access to information. So, am I a secretary? Can I get hold of the managing partner's payslip? We've got somebody, Sandra's the next question coming in here. We have freelancers with our firm who access emails with their own devices but do not access our document management software. Is this something we should look into? So we have freelancers within our firm who access emails with their own devices but do not access our document management software. Yes, absolutely need to look at that. So the government's advice on this is their devices need to be registered with you. So if they were to lose them, you should be able to remotely wipe those because it's got access to your email on there. And it doesn't... Yeah, and they should also have malware and antivirus running on those devices as well. You need to look at email and think that it's inherently insecure. So a lot of law firms now run a secure email platform, and it's £1 per user per month. It can be branded as yours, and we can help you run a trial on that. We've got a message here from Janine. Should all firms have a disaster recovery plan which includes a cyber incident response? If a firm does not have this, can you assist? Absolutely. So firstly, Janine, we go for a business continuity plan first. That's what they should have, and that's part of the one of the packs we do. And then they move to disaster recovery. And then you should have absolutely the cyber incident response. That includes speaking to your insurance company or your broker, having the access number for them 24/7. And what you tend to find there is that you need to have PR people on standby. So they'll speak to the press if you're a small firm, or even the larger firms. Somebody who will pay the fees of experts like ourselves if we needed to come in and help remediate, and have telephone numbers set up for conference calls so you can get your partners on the call as well, so they can talk about the situation as it develops. Okay, I think there's a couple more questions coming in here. How much does it cost, and how do we advise? Okay, we have two packages. We do an advice package, which is a monthly fee. We come in and talk to you. Some people pay up front, some people pay it monthly going forward for advice and design of their security services. And then what most people do is they move on to a managed service where we monitor everything that's going on for them and give them daily or monthly reports. Okay, I think that's it. We've got what should you do if you're breached by an attacker. We've covered that one off. Can you look at security of websites? Yes, we can. What's the penetration test? Okay, so we're just about to time out here. We're about 15 seconds to go. Is there any more questions to come in? Okay, I'm just going to recap. So thank you very much for joining this afternoon. Hope you enjoyed that webinar. You've got our details on the screen there. You'll get a follow-up email afterwards. And that was Think Marble, and we'd be delighted to work with you. Thank you and good afternoon.